Hey everybody, it's David Jenkins with Fama Morrissey Realty. I'm a residential real estate agent here in the North Carolina Triangle. And I want to talk for a minute today about the advantages of staging a house before putting it on the market. Staging can greatly change the feel of a home. I've shown properties before where it was a little bit of a cookie cutter subdivision. You had the same model home reappear throughout the neighborhood. And I've shown a home where it was vacant and a buyer went through and told me that it just didn't feel right. And then a couple of weeks later, the buyer still hadn't bought a house. We're back in the same neighborhood. We see the same model home, but it's staged, and the buyer says, now this one feels like home. I'd like to make an offer on this one. Unbelievable. So it really does work. It really does change the feel of a home. It changes the photographs of the home. Take a look at some of these before and after photographs that I have here. And you can notice that with no furniture, there's a certain feel to it, but pop the furniture in and the room feels completely different. It affects how the buyers feel when they're in the house, and it affects the photographs that are taken before putting on the market and the photographs that appear on MLS and in all the different websites that are advertising this house. These photographs are the most important thing a real estate agent could do to sell the house. And by having the feel of the house be changed with staging is critical in helping the seller get top dollar for the property. All right, now here's a couple more things about staging. One is it helps the buyer go in and visualize how furniture might be set up. Even if the buyer has different furniture, if they see that it works to have a sofa on either side of the fireplace or to have this or that set up a certain way, then a buyer could say, okay, well, I wouldn't necessarily have it that way, but now that I can see this furniture arrangement, I can visualize how I might have my furniture in here. So it helps a buyer visualize arrangement of furniture. It makes small rooms feel larger, especially bedrooms. Many times buyers will go in and say, well, I like this house, David, but I have a king-size bed, and I really don't know whether a king-size bed would fit in here. Well, boom, you put a bed in there, even if it's not a king-size, you can see there's so much room on either side. The buyer might say, well, yeah, I can see now side tables, everything would fit, my dresser would fit, I can visualize this. It gives the buyer and an agent a place to sit. A buyer might come through and say, I really like this house. What do you think I should offer? Let's talk about how that might work. And rather than having to go to a coffee shop or back to the agent's office or some other place to talk about the terms of an offer that a buyer might make, they could just sit down at a kitchen table or maybe in a living room or family room and talk about it. And while they're talking about it, still be feeling the house and visualizing the house and loving the house. So it's important, I think, for the buyer and the agent to have a place to sit. And it increases the chances of the seller receiving multiple offers. You'll sometimes see stagers give statistics that staging a home helps it sell 79% faster. I don't know how. I mean, unless you had a Groundhog Day situation where you could try to sell the house without staging and then try to sell it with staging, and then you'd know. But if you try to sell it without staging, then it has an MLS history. You know, and then later you say, now let me try staging. There's a stigma against a house that's been on the market a certain period of time. So it's hard to compare the same house that didn't sell with no staging, and then if it's the same price with staging, it's just hard to know those numbers. It's hard to also to know that staging, gets a certain higher dollar for a house. It's just, there's too much fudging with those statistics. But I do know from personal experience, it changes the feel definitely. It helps buyer visualize furniture. It makes small rooms feel larger. Without a doubt, it gives the buyer and agent a place to sit. And I truly believe it increases the chances of a seller getting multiple offers. And with those multiple offers comes, because everybody wants the thing that looks like somebody else is about to get, it increases the chances of the seller selling for a price that's higher than they otherwise would have. Well, if I can, a typical cost of staging, it entirely depends on who the stager is, how large the house is, if this is a modern home, mid-century modern, some particular style of the staging we're trying to accomplish. But in general, for let's say a 2,500 square foot house, that we're not going to stage every room, but we'll stage the kitchen and all the bathrooms and the family room and the dining room and the breakfast room and the master bedroom, but not the secondary bedroom, say. And we say that staging agreement was going to last for 60 days. The cost might be, say, somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000. That includes the cost of the initial staging consultation, the stager going to his or her warehouse and picking out the items, bringing in a moving crew and a moving truck and setting up those things, and then later, when it's time, coming back and retrieving those things and turning the house back to normal. Let's say that a house goes under contract in 5 days. You're like, well, I just paid for 60 days. The seller would want to continue the staging throughout the due diligence period, when a buyer might terminate for any or no reason, and not take down the staging until we get toward closing. So 60 days is a nice period of time to have, even if the house were to go under contract in, say, 5 days. One more thing, if you get to that end of, it's not always 60 days, but let's say it's a 60-day period, and the house is still for sale, well, then the cost of staging then goes into a per-day rate of much less, of say $12 or $15 a day, or say $450 a month, if we're going to continue the staging on after that initial period. So I hope that answers some questions. If I could answer any other questions about staging or anything else related to residential real estate, please give me a call. My contact information is below. Thank you.